retarded, dude. But anyways, whatever. It doesn't matter. Who cares? So anyway. All right, how the world works, part 4, right? I guess this is part 4. I don't know. And the work. We need the worker bees to make all this function. The top 10%, the middle 80%, the lowest 10%. We got to have worker bees to keep the top 10% continuing to exponentially consolidate masses of power, wealth, resources, control. Somebody has to work to make this happen, right? Am I right or what? Like, what the fuck? Okay. And I have talked about this a lot over the years, and it's like crickets. It's crickets, which is fine. It's like whatever. But really what it is, it goes back to, the idea of like having a channel, right? Where a person has this channel and they're like a superstar on the internet and they have this channel, right? And so they have this massive platform with this massive audience, and they're like this allegedly talented YouTuber or BitChute or whatever. This is a subject that someone who's talented that has a massive platform could easily like throw out there and do a video, like a long video on. And what it is it's work. The whole subject of work. What does this mean? Work. I mean, we're constantly bombarded with all this messaging of how important work is and get a job and all this stuff. And I'm telling you, like I've pointed this out, and I just get crickets. So I'm gonna bring this up again. Okay. I was basically already convinced. I already knew the score, but I wanted to confirm my suspicions. Okay. And so what I did, this is what I did. I typed into Google, okay, what percentage of U.S. jobs are corporate jobs? I just asked Google, what percentage of U.S. jobs are corporate jobs? I also asked the Brave search engine, what percentage of U.S. jobs are corporate jobs? And the general answer that I got was that a conservative estimate is that like 50% of all U.S. jobs are corporate jobs of some kind of corporate position, even if it's just low level, like you're cleaning the toilets of the corporate building. What percentage of U.S. jobs are corporate jobs? 50%. So 50% of all jobs in the U.S. are corporate jobs. Now let's just think about that. I haven't even got to what percent of jobs are government jobs and what percent of jobs are nonprofit jobs. I'm just talking about what percentage of U.S. jobs are corporate jobs. 50%. So 50% of all jobs, right? Now, if you want to be part of society and not looked down as some kind of, pariah to be rejected, you need to have a job. Otherwise, you're just a lazy bum, on and on, right? Okay, and then 50% of all jobs are corporate jobs, okay? Well, let's think about this in regards to the top 10%, the middle 80%, and the lowest 10%. I'm just going to say it. I'm not going to I'm not going to mince words or create some kind of theatrical thing to get the viewer to think. I'm just going to say it. All those corporate jobs are designed to continue to direct wealth, all the wealth, to the top 10%. So how is the top 10% able to exponentially consolidate masses of wealth and power and control? Well, because 50% of all U.S. jobs, that's what is designed to do is to direct all the wealth to the top 10%. So that's your job. If you're looking for a job because somebody told you you're a bum, stop being such a bum, get a haircut and get a real job. And so you're out looking for a job. Well, 50% of any prospects is going to be corporate jobs. Well, what do corporate jobs do? Consolidate all the wealth, power, resources, and control to the top 10%. Is that what you want? You want to work for the top 10% and participate in consolidating all the wealth and power and resources and control to the top. That's what you want to do. That's what work means. This is what I'm saying. What does work even mean? What does the word work mean? When 50% of all U.S. jobs are corporate jobs, where your job will be to consolidate wealth, resources, power, and control to the top 10%. That's your job. And if you get that job, then you can be part of the cool people. You can be one of the salt of the earth, the greatest people on the whole planet, the middle 80%. You don't have to be the lowest 10%. If you want to not be a poopy poop in the lowest 10%, what you do is you get a corporate job where you work to consolidate wealth, power, resources, and control to the top 10%. That's your job. Is that what work means? Okay. Now this is just corporate jobs. This is what I'm saying about the subject of what Asmongold touched on, and then moved on to video games or whatever. Not criticizing, I'm just saying. So the middle 80% are working all these varying and sundry different corporate jobs whose sole purpose is to consolidate wealth, resources, power, and control to the top 10%. While the top 10% continues to exponentially grow in wealth, power, right? And so the middle 80%, if they're working a corporate job, which is 50% of all U.S. jobs, then they're working for the top 10%. That's just corporate jobs, okay? Then you've got government jobs. What do government jobs do other than work to direct resources, wealth, power, and control to the top 10%? That's exactly what a government job does. The same thing that a corporate job does. Okay? So government jobs are like 15% of all U.S. jobs are government jobs. So you got 50% of all U.S. jobs are corporate jobs. And all those jobs do is direct and allocate resources, wealth, power, and control to the top 10%. That's their job. That's the job, a corporate job. That's your purpose as a corporate employee, okay? Well, but then government jobs do the same thing. The job of a government worker is to direct wealth, resources, power, and control to the top 10%. So you got government, you got corporate jobs, which is the same as a government job, and that's 50% of all jobs. Then government jobs is 15% of all U.S. jobs. So that's 65% of all U.S. jobs. 65%. And these are conservative estimates according to the Brave search engine and the Google search engine. These are conservative estimates. So it's likely to be higher percentage than that. So at least 50% of all US jobs are corporate jobs. At least 15% of all US jobs are government jobs. So at least so corporate jobs and government jobs comprise at least 65% of all US jobs. And what do corporate jobs and government jobs do other than direct and allocate wealth, resources, power, and control to the top 10%? Then you have nonprofit jobs. And so I asked the Brave search engine and the Google search engine, what percentage of US jobs are nonprofit? And it's saying the same thing, that at least 10% of all US jobs are nonprofit jobs. Now, what do nonprofit jobs do? Okay, nonprofit jobs are like the homeless service provider field, working for the EBT system, working for, all these nonprofit jobs. They all just suck the government's dick all day. That's all it is. It's all just nonprofit. So like, okay, if you want to start an organization because you think there should be more equal rights for transgenders, like you think that transgenders should be able to compete in sports, you think that we should have that transgenders, like a male to female transgender should be able to go into a woman's bathroom. And so you want to start a nonprofit organization to, promote like transgenderism. We want to teach children that they can be, they can choose whatever sex they want to be. And so then you start a nonprofit. So all these nonprofits, it's like Black Lives Matter nonprofit, transgender rights is nonprofit organizations, LGBT rights is nonprofit organizations, all of these homeless service provider organizations that don't do anything for anybody. It's all just, they just stealing all these tax dollars. All these organizations that just steal your tax dollars for all this stupid shit like transgender bathrooms and and all this fucking dumb shit. That's the nonprofit. So at least 10% of all jobs are nonprofit. So if you want to work in an organization that fights for transgender bathrooms, then that's the 10% work sector. Okay? Or you could work for the government, and you can just work for the state as a state worker. But what do all these three things do? All these three things, they all do the same thing. They allocate and direct all wealth to the top 10%. All wealth, resources, power, control, all must be directed to the top 10%. That's what that's what corporations do, that's what government does, and that's what nonprofit does. So you got 10% of all US jobs are nonprofit. 15% of all US jobs are government, and 50% of all US jobs are corporate. And these are all conservative estimates. So at the lowest possible estimation is that 75% of all US jobs are either corporate, government, or nonprofit. At least 75%. These three things comprise, at the very least, 75% of all US jobs in America. So even best case scenario, if you are looking for a job, best case scenario, 50% of all the jobs are corporate jobs, where your job will be to assist and support in allocating and directing all resources, wealth, power, control to the top 10%. 50% of all jobs that will be your job. Okay. But then government jobs, 15%, is the same job. So that's 65%. This is the best case scenario if you're looking for a job. And then the only other is the nonprofit, which is 10%. But nonprofit is the exact same thing. All three of these entities do the exact same thing. Direct wealth, resources, power, control to the top 10%. So what does it mean to work? That's what work. See, this is what you are being told work means. Is if you want a job, you want to be productive in society. What it means to be productive in society is to assist and support in allocating and directing any and all wealth, resources, power, and control to the top 10%. While the top 10% continues to grow exponentially in wealth, power, control, and resources. So at least 75% of all US jobs, your job is to direct and allocate any and all wealth, resources, power, and control to the top 10%. And that's what work means. When they say work, oh, I'm working. Oh, you should be working. Oh, these people are working. Oh, those people aren't working. They're not working. Those people need to get a job. They need to start working. I'm working. What does this word work mean? Allocate and direct any and all wealth and resources and power and control to the top 10%. That is all that word means. Whenever somebody's talking about work, that's what they're referring to. That's what it is. So do you want to work? Is it in people's best the people? Okay, when you talk about the people, is it in the people's best interest that everyone work? Is it in the people's best interest that everyone assist and support in directing any and all resources, wealth, power, and control to the top 10%? Is that in the people's best interest, or is it not? Okay, so and this is real. This is real, and I've talked about this, and I get crickets. Nobody cares that 50% of all U.S. jobs are corporate jobs, and 15% of all U.S. jobs are government jobs, and 10% of all U.S. jobs are nonprofit jobs. And these are all conservative estimates. Nobody cares, but everybody cares about work. Oh, this guy should work. That person, those people should be working. Oh, I work really hard. I'm a worker. I work. I'm a working man. They call me the working man. What does that mean? How the world works. This is part 4, how the world works. See you, boys.